Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us thank you all for coming here today in this international lecture
with Taipei Economic and Trade Office. My name is Chen-Huan and my partner,
Linda from Binus University, and we will guide you throughout this seminar. Okay, this seminar may be for a few of you or some of you who have ever participated in our seminar. This seminar is quite different because we also have our friends from BOL or Binus Online Learning. As you can see from the first row, the camera is recording us live for the Binus Online Learning.
Great. So Linda, actually what will us do throughout this seminar right now?
Okay. In the seminar, we will talk about Indonesia 4.0 and also what can we learn from Taiwan.
Okay, and the most interesting thing is we also be informed about the trade war between US and China. These topics are very suitable and relevant for millennials and especially for business students.
Okay, and then, before we end the seminar, you guys know that Business Management Laboratory is very generous. So, before this session ends, there are special door prize for 3 lucky persons. Okay, for 3 lucky persons.
Wonderful. And we'd like to welcome and introduce Mr. Jack, the Director of Economic Division of Taipei Economic and Trade Office in Indonesia. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Jack.
Selamat siang. That is the only Indonesian bahasa that I know. From here on, I'm going to speak in English. Hopefully that will be able to connect in the following 1 or 2 hours. My name is Jack Xiao to start with. Call me Jack. I am born from last millennium, and actually that was half a century ago. And to this university to give a speech is something that I do not anticipate this large amount of students here. So I will hope that I can do a better job to satisfy the need that we need to discuss about nowadays in Indonesia, in Taiwan, and the whole world. Okay, to start with, I am from Taiwan, and I still remember 27 years ago when I go to the United States to study, my classmate asked me, "Where did you come from?" And I say, "I came from Republic of China." They say, "Oh, China." And I must immediately say, no, I'm not from China. I'm from Taipei. They say, "Oh, Tibet." No, I'm from Taiwan. "Oh, Thailand." So it is a very interesting experience for me, and maybe also for you, to know a little country called Taiwan. And that is to start with my presentation today. Hopefully, I would exchange viewpoint with you on 3 main points. The first is to talk a little bit about economic development. Industry 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. To just give a landscape of what is going on of the whole world. And after that, I will try to introduce both Taiwan and Indonesia for you to make a small comparison, to know each other better. And then we will jump into the global market to see how the other big elephants are doing, and afterward what we should learn from those big wars nowadays. First, my presentation will be divided into 4 parts. The first is about economic development. The second is introducing Taiwan and Indonesia. The third is introducing China and United States. And last is what we are going to discuss later on. Okay, the first. When we talk about economic development, when we talk about Industry 1.0, this is what we had 200 years ago, where man actually made a machine that will be replacing what we are using manpower or horsepower, and the machine will begin to create a new world that in the past we did not have before. From 1.0, now we venturing to Industry 2.0, is a machine that can work for you. So the machine will do a textile clothes, will do a hat, will do a footwear, a shoes for you. Actually, it's a combine of a manpower with the machine power together to make things. And the Industry 2.0 is the era where mass production is possible. When now we have mobile phones, almost each and everyone have that mobile phone. If we are going to produce ourselves, by ourselves, our own mobile phone, it is not possible. If we are even to make a pen or pencil by ourselves, that is not possible. So we have the 2.0 where mass production, one company will actually produce a lot of mobile phones for everybody, like iPhone, like Samsung. And that is the 2.0. Now, venturing into 3.0 is the digital economy, where everything will be digitalized. It is difficult to understand why all the materials can be transformed into just 1 and 0 combination. But with that 3.0, the smart machine is starting to get picking up, and possibly that we will be able to create something out of nothing. For example, e-commerce. We do not need to rent a land, to build a house, to put stuff in the shop for people to go in and choose from and buy things. Everything will be on the internet. You can open a store on the internet, and that is very cheap. You do not need to produce all the raw materials for that one. And that actually is a 3.0, and also make it a new revolution. For example, in my old days, when I would like to listen to music, I would need to buy a cassette or a CD to listen to it. Nowadays, almost nothing of that is happening in your life. So that is venturing into the 3.0, what we have right now. And then if we venture into 4.0, here, the smart small machines start to connect to each other. And in the future, when each and every product is connected with each other, that is Industry 4.0. There's small examples that we already had in the past. For example, in Taiwan, we had the ETC system. We put a chip on the automobile, on each and every automobile. So the automobile, when they drive through the highway and up onto each and every toll, they do not need to stop, because the toll will pick up the signals from the chip in each and every automobile, sending the signals to the toll system. You already can drive through without stopping and pay money each and every time. That is because the toll system and the and the automobile has connections that we help them to connect to each other. With that, in the future, it is possible when all the cars, taxis, will not need men to drive. The taxi will be driven by machines. That is what we are looking forward to, Industry 4.0. And that is something we hope in the future, not only United States or China or Taiwan, maybe also in Indonesia, or everything you have will be connected to each other. For example, your clothes will pick up the sense about the temperatures, whether or not it is sunny or rainy, and your clothes will change the formation and then to become waterproof or cooler. That is hopefully in the future, Industry 4.0 is going to make for us. So we are in this very dynamic path that everything happens only within 200 years. So we don't know how many more years will we be venturing into this 4.0. Okay, this is a big landscape of what we are going to see in the current moment and tomorrow and next year. Now let me move to the next step. There are two economies here. that if you see from the map, the southern part, lower part will be Indonesia. The north part there in the red dot is Taiwan. And I'm going to introduce a little bit more about each other so you will know us a little bit better what we are doing there and in Indonesia. Okay, to start, 400 years ago, Portuguese people come to Indonesia to pick up spice and move it back to Europe. Almost the same year, Portuguese came to Taiwan and find that island, a beautiful island, so the Portuguese called it Ilha Formosa. And that is why we pick up the name Formosa. 100 years later, Dutch people come to Indonesia, build a regional port here. In fact, 3 years after that, Dutch people also go to Taiwan and also build a fortress there. If you have the chance to go to Taiwan to travel, you are welcome to go to Taiwan to see the fortress that is built by Dutch people using the brick, using a stone imported from Indonesia here. And after that, there's a Second World War. Japan occupies a short time period of Indonesia. While at the same time, Japan also occupied half a century of Taiwan. So we both share a little bit of the background of Japanese culture and education. And by the year 1945, Indonesia got independent. Actually, Taiwan was independent a bit earlier than that. But you can see we shared almost the same cultural background with Portuguese people, Dutch people, Japan people. And that's what we have in common. Now let me see the comparison here. The growth, economic growth, the GDP, the land size, and the people. You will see that Indonesia has 260 million people, while we have 23 million. So actually you have 10 times more people than Taiwan. For the land size, actually you have 50 times more than Taiwan. We are just a small tiny island. What is the size exactly? It's almost about West Java province of Taiwan. With the GDP, actually, when you have that population and that land, you produce almost 1 trillion GDP every year. But the small island, what we have, is producing half of your GDP. So actually, we are quite value-added people with a small number of people that will create more economic benefit. And the growth, while this is interesting, for Taiwan, annual growth for us is 2%, and for you is 5%. So this will be a very interesting development if we put more years for that to come. From 2016-17 to 2020, you will see Indonesia economic growth will move in from 1 trillion almost to 1.2 trillion, while Taiwan is a slower growth rate, almost stay as half of your size. Even though currently we are 60%, but in 2 or 3 years, we will be only half of your size economically. And that is the basic comparison between Indonesia and Taiwan. Now, if we put Indonesia in this big chart here, it is also very interesting. For Indonesia, I put in the first one, there are 4 different colors and meanings there. The green one is the population. So for the entire ASEAN, you will see Indonesia almost occupies half of the population. And then for the second one is the economic, the first one is the land size. The land size of Indonesia. The second one is the population. And the third one is the economy. So you will see that Indonesia still is a little bit different and lower than the others. 经济成长率 sorry, no. This is the third one is economic growth. So Indonesia actually has, like the Philippines, Vietnam, and Myanmar, they are in a very good economic growth state. While the last one is the national income. So you will see, even though Singapore has very good national income, but it is difficult for them to get double. But for Indonesia, it is easier to get double the income. So in the future, there are more potentials. And this is also very important. Who is making more money potentially? Because on the left-hand side is the East Asia countries, while Taiwan is ranked number 15 competitively to do business. And Indonesia on the right-hand side within the ASEAN countries ranked number 36 globally for the competitiveness. You are a little bit behind Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. So there are still rooms to improve from here. Okay, now this is venturing into the trade issues here. Important matters to start, but the numbers is difficult to remember. Just remember the trend here. Doing trade, Indonesia exporting to the global market. In the past, there's a lot of fluctuation here. Last year, it's a very good 16% increase of the global trade. While sending to Taiwan is also 30% growth. So there's a very good progress there. And here, this year, pay a special attention to this 10%. You are exporting 10% bigger than last year in the to August, first 8 months there. And in that chart, if we look into the country allocations, you are exporting more product to China, US, Japan, Singapore, while Taiwan, even though a tiny island, is your top 10 traders, exporting markets. Okay, now let's see the second one, your imports. Indonesian imports is also getting better. Last year, 15%. This year, the first 8 months, 24%, a quarter increase. If you still remember the previous chart, your export is 10% better than last year. Your import is 25% better than last year, which means you are importing more and more, while you are selling less and less. So this is a alarming signal, because you are actually produce things that's not enough to make money to buy things from abroad. Now, going back to Taiwan, here, even though your import, Taiwan is still ranked number 11 of Indonesia's import source market. So Taiwan, even though very small, is also very important for Indonesia. Now, for Taiwan export, we export actually almost twice what Indonesian export. And we are also exporting to Indonesia too. And that is our outsource, our market outsource there. We sell more to China. I purposely put ASEAN countries here, so it is our second largest market. Taiwan sell our product to ASEAN countries, while Indonesia is only a small portion of that one. And our import, we have the first three quarters of our import, and from this chart we would see that we import from China, Japan, ASEAN countries, while also Indonesia is only a small part of it. So while Taiwan is very good at doing trade internationally, we are still maintaining relatively good relation with Indonesia, but not as good as we have with some other ASEAN countries like Singapore, Vietnam, or Thailand. So there are rooms for both to work more. Now here is the investment. Every year, all the foreign countries will pour their money into some market where they consider this is a good market, they can make money. So the more investment into your market means your market is considered a good potential market. Every year, almost 30 billion US dollars pouring into Indonesia, while to Taiwan we have about 5 to 10 billion still. But this year there's also a signal that's sending out. For the first half of this year, the money pouring into Indonesia is only 7 billion, a sharp decrease when compared with the previous years. While the first year of Taiwan situation, we remain similarly with the amount paid. So if we put numbers here, you will see more clearly. Every year, Indonesia with the red column receives 3 billion US dollars investment from abroad, and this year, with the first half, you only have that small amount. So there is something happening this year, both for Taiwan and for Indonesia, and that is something we need to pay special attention to. And this is a very interesting situation to see, even though Taiwan do not have a lot of investment in Indonesia, we still ranked 18 from last year investment. And the other way around, for Taiwan to invest in the entire ASEAN countries, we invest more to Vietnam, almost double the size of what we invest in Indonesia. And that is another good alarming signals that I'm going to introduce later. Here, the way why Taiwan can make successful in international trade, while we only have a small island, a limited number of manpower, we almost have no natural resources, but we are capable of doing things. We import a lot, we export a lot, because we can only import resources, components, raw materials into Taiwan and use our brain to make value add and re-export to some other market. That is how a small, tiny island can make money internationally. So trade is very important for Taiwan. But on the other hand, Indonesia is not so lucky. No, I should say Indonesia is very, very lucky, and maybe too lucky enough. The God has blessed the entire land, Indonesian land, because there are so many natural resources. There are so many productions here. It's easy to live. Not like in Taiwan, we have nothing. If we do not struggle, we will not survive. So we are more determined to make progress. While Indonesia is blessed by the Almighties, and then they are less determined to actually, less urgent to make more money from Indonesia. So first, the way we make sure that we can make money is that we do not want to make everything made in Taiwan. If you go to Indonesian market anywhere to find a product made from Taiwan, that would be almost difficult to identify names. There's no car, there's no mobile phones, there's no nothing almost here in Jakarta market to find that is produced made in Taiwan. But if you use iPhone, actually it was produced by, made part of that by Taiwan companies. 10 or 20 years ago, if you buy a notebook, disregard the brand name here, 90% of the notebook will be produced by Taiwanese companies with the parts and components. You don't see an automobile made by Taiwan, but almost each and every big companies who making automobiles will need to buy parts and components from Taiwan. Bicycles, the same. So those are the ideas that because we are not strong enough, big enough, advanced enough, so we would like to fit in. We try to complement, supplement ourselves to fit in the production lines of each and every market. What you want to produce, we can help. So let us be your supplier, be your partner. And that is the first approach that Taiwan people would try to make escaping in this global market while we have almost nothing. The second important, interesting example is this particular one. It's called jambu. I was told that this is the fruit actually originally from Indonesia. But several decades ago, Taiwan people introduced this particular fruit into Taiwan. If nowadays, if you go to Taiwan to enjoy the jambu made from Taiwan, you will be amazed. We try to produce them, each and every one, as big, as large, as sweet as possible. And this is the way we try to harvest them. We try to protect each and every fruit from birds and worms in order to make a good quality jambu, which is about 10 to 20%, 10 to 20 times more expensive than what you can buy from Indonesia. Because when we introduced this fruit to Taiwan, our farmers try to find the best place to plant this fruit. The answer, you will be amazed, is seashore, near the seaside, where the water is very salty, where it is very windy. It is naturally harsh for the fruit. So Mother Nature has this design. The plant, the mother, will try to put all the good things, essence, into the fruit, make it bigger and larger and sweeter. And that is how we try to find a new way to make a different fruit product here. The third example is this one, toast. It can be seen almost anywhere. So we can produce toast, but not in any competitive, because we don't even grow wheat. We import flours to make a toast, so the product will be expensive. But how can we try to make our product, even though expensive, but people will be willing to buy it? This. So this is how we try to make some value add with almost no resources but our brains, to try to make something different, more valuable. The last one. No, this is also, it's called adamame. If you go to a Japanese restaurant, you will always order this as an appetizer. But please go to Japanese restaurant next time, pay a little bit attention on this particular fruit, vegetables. If you see 2 beans inside a pot, if you do not see a lot of them with 3 beans inside a pot, it is not made in Taiwan. What we have advanced is actually to make adamame with almost all of them have 3 beans inside or 4 beans inside. So our product can be more expensive than the others. This is garbage. My final point. Because we only have garbage from Taiwan, what we can do is actually collect the garbage and try to change that garbage into man-made fibers. 4 years ago, all the soccer teams globally, when they play soccer, actually the jersey was made of this particular man-made fiber, environmentally friendly man-made fiber. So that is something people from Taiwan, when they are making money out of nothing, when they do not have any resources, they can only try harder and harder to use their brain to make different things. The last one is what we think, as I introduced, we try to complement. We do not want to make a car entirely by Taiwan people. So we try to assemble the components there. So we will be able to make this one, that one, and 20%, 30%, 40%. By the end, we are not actually making one car at all. But if you right now go to Indonesia, to the Honda, Toyota car makers, go to their factories, you will see 20 or 30 Taiwanese factories nearby producing those parts all together. So the essence of Taiwan's success actually is trying to do our contribution to make other people, make our partners rich, so we can share some of the benefit. And that is the experience that we have from Taiwan. This lady is Taiwan's female president, our first ever, who took the office 2 years ago, made a new announcement that Taiwan would like to make its new southbound policy. Because in the past, Taiwan doing trade with 60% of our trade, only with mainland China. 2 or 3 years ago, Taiwan invested about 2/3 of all of our money in mainland China. But we do not want that to become too risky. So our new southbound policy actually is very simple, that we do not want to put all the eggs in one basket. We want to take some eggs out of the mainland China, going south to our neighboring countries to put our eggs here. But whether or not we will come to Indonesia to put our eggs or not, that is very important. Because I've been posted here in Indonesia for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. There's a lot of Taiwanese companies from mainland China come to ASEAN countries. They make a tour to almost every one to see the market there, to try to choose which one will be better for us to move our factories south to your country. But very unfortunately, Indonesia is not their first choice. Our first choice actually is Vietnam, is Thailand, is the Philippines, before Indonesia, because actually there's a lot more of difference there. Maybe Vietnam is blessed with different communist control countries, so their procedures are more efficient. When the king says A, everybody goes A. When the king says B, everybody goes B. And that is very good for us to establish one factory in Vietnam. There is another good example last year. Our automobile Thai company come to Indonesia, set up a factory to start making tires to be sold globally and internationally. But the interesting thing is that they spent 2 years waiting for permit, central permit, local permit. So 1 year after the waiting, they decided to move one production line to Vietnam, and the other one just keep here and waiting. The one moved to Vietnam, they wait another 6 months. The factory already start working and start producing, making money. And here in Indonesia, they still wait another 1 year. So totally 2 years for them to start working. And that is something, hopefully, in the future, when we are venturing into 3.0 and 4.0, there will be more efficiency out of not only human resources, but also digital resources. Try to make it possible. That is, for the time being, what we see from Taiwan and also from Indonesia, and what will be the future of these two particular players. The big one occupies a lot of land and sea resources. The small one is only a small island. Another very interesting idea actually can be explained in another story. Taiwan actually is a very good fisherman. We have fishing boats to go all over the world to catch fishes from public sea, from the high sea. We also have come to Indonesia because a lot of water resources, marine resources here. So a lot of Taiwanese businessmen go to Bali to invest in the fishing business. But 1 or 2 years ago, a bit while ago, Indonesia has a new policy that all the fish in your water can only be catched by Indonesian people, by Indonesian vessels. So our investment or all other foreign investment goes out. What left behind here is actually vessels with Indonesian captains and Indonesian fishermen who do not know where to go to put the net to catch the fish. So their boat going out will not catch nothing here. And that is the situation. If you want to find national glory, you are making the high standard, everything will be made in Indonesia, then it is a very high challenge that you need to actually do everything yourself. Alternatively, you can also find a good partners, for example, a good guide, a good captain to give you the tips and the guidance to go out to catch the fish, and then we share the benefit. And that is something that I would like to try to promote Taiwan to Indonesia, is that particular cooperation. And there are 3 good points why working with Taiwan is better than working with many big multinational corporations. 3 elements. First, we do not have a lot of people. We do not have large population. So when Taiwan people come to Indonesia to invest, we bring in capital, we bring in technology, we bring in experiences, but we cannot bring in people because we do not have enough. Not like some other countries where when they invest in Indonesia, they will bring in a lot of people from that big countries. That is the first difference. The second difference is that when Taiwan companies are mostly small and medium-sized companies, so their technology is much smaller than the big companies. For example, a Taiwan footwear company come to Indonesia to invest, to set up a factory. 2 or 3 years later, the local employee will learn the tricks and borrow some money and go out and open up its own shoe factories. So the Indonesian small and medium-sized economy will be able to start growing. 20 years ago, that is the way we invest in mainland China and make China the world's largest factory. 10 years ago, that is also the way we invest in Vietnam and making Vietnam becomes the main producers of the ASEAN countries. And hopefully, we can also bring that idea to Indonesia, but our investment would only be a small and medium-sized one. That is also very good for Indonesian small and medium-sized companies. Another good example is that if you invited Samsung Mobile to invest, to set up factories here, 5 years later, 10 years later, you still only have Samsung Mobile. If you invite Toyota, Honda, car makers come to Indonesia, 10 years later, 20 years later, you still have only Honda and Toyota. And that is the difference if you are going to partner with a small countries like Taiwan. All right, enough of these small things. Now let's move to the bigger ocean here, where this year, as I mentioned, is a critical year where Taiwan is at risk. Also, Indonesia is at risk because there are 2 very big super elephants is fighting against each other. And this is the year that we are facing this time. And I would like to divide my presentation into 4 parts. The first is the ranking of the trade of the economies. And the second is the ranking of the traders. The third one is the idea of the international regime where the US is the center or not the center anymore. And then what is going on nowadays. First one is this particular chart. This, like the world big fortune companies, like the rich men here, the world's most rich country is the United States. This is the size of their wealth. The second one right now is China, about 2/3 of the total wealth. The others, Japan, Germany, UK, you can see the size of their wealth is relatively low. This is the top 10. And here would be a very interesting idea because the trend is showing like this. The United States, in the past 10 years, you can see the overall wealth of US remains a small increase. While China has been increased greatly in the curve that's almost approaching upstairs. So the world number 2 is growing faster than the world number 1, and now the world number 1 is worried on this particular wealth. And here I also put Taiwan and Indonesia. The wealth of Indonesia is about 1 trillion, that size. And for Taiwan is half of that particular size. So this is the relativity of the world wealth allocation here. Now, move from the wealth to making trade. You see a switch here. China is doing more trade than United States. And they are the top 2 of that one. So the world number 1 rich man is worried about the world's number 2 rich man because they are making more trade and making more money. So there's a concern that how am I going to put down the number 2 so the number 2 will not threat number 1 anymore. And the trend is also very interesting here. You can see the United States is relatively doing trade on that volume, while the Chinese doing trade is picking up from previously up until 2014 and 15, surpassed the United States, now becomes doing more trade than the United States, and that is the trend. And that year, 2015, is the year marked China becomes the number 1 trader. So China make another commitment in the following 10 years. We are going to become from number 2 to number 1. That policy is called Made in China 2025. And that is the clash started, actually, was that unstoppable trend, whether or not they are going to make that start. And here you will also see the size of Taiwan a bit larger than the Indonesian size of doing trade here. Okay, now let's see the US concern here. The United States nowadays, when they are, this is the chart for last year, when they are doing trading goods, they sell concrete product like automobile, like aircraft. This is a good in trading goods. They sell this one, they sold this one, so there's a minus trade deficit here. On the trading service, they are making money here. So overall, actually, they are still losing money. The United States last year is losing money about 800 billion US dollars. 800 billion US dollars. They are losing money last year alone. That 800 billion may be a shocking number, but there's more shocking figures here. This resembles the losing money of the United States in the past 25 years. They are losing money each and every year, and they are losing more and more. So let us consider there is a very rich man in Indonesia who in the past 25 years is not making money at all, and they are losing money each and every year. That is the pressure behind United States. Something must be done from now on before too late. So United States looked into its top 5 traders here. The bilateral trade, the largest one is with China, the blue one. While the United States sell their product in the green one and buy from China the pink one. So the trade deficit is a very large red color there. The second trader is with Canada, but they sell and buy things more or less the same. So the trade deficit is not that big. The third one, Mexico, fourth one, Japan, and Germany, the fifth one. These are on the watch list that the United States will try to look after and try to tell each and every one, you must give justice back to me. You cannot keep that trade surplus with United States no more. But be of attention here because Indonesia is also within the top 15 watch list. Indonesia is also making money, making trade surplus with United States. So the US, after these big guys, will also ask Indonesia, and also including Taiwan. We both need to pay attention to be hit by the United States. This is what Mr. President of the United States said. Fair trade is now to be called full trade if it is not reciprocal. Reciprocal is a basic idea of fairness. I take one, I give one. I take two, I give two. That is a two-way bilateral consideration, but it is not a multilateral consideration because we are sometimes making money with this one and losing money with that one. So no country will be able to claim that I want to make money with each and every one of them. And the United States seems like they are trying to make that particular indication, even though not clear. So let's see what is fair trade in the eyes of the United States this year. Mr. Trump says that, for example, for cars, a car made in the United States, if sold to European Union, will be levied the tariff about 10%, while European Union cars sold to the United States will be levied tariff about 2%. This is unfair. If I only levy 2% of your tariff, why can you levy 10% out of my automobile? So this is something I want to change. But Mr. Trump did not tell you this. Trucks. The trucks made in European Union will be levied with the tariff of 25%. This is something that they will not tell you, but only tell you the lower part. It is unfair. So now you get a sense about what is the complication of doing international trade, because nobody has the full picture here. So there are two very interesting stories coming up, because the United States is worried everything we made is not good, that we cannot sell to other countries, while the other countries doing things, making things very good and sell to the United States. Why is that? There must be some sort of unfairness behind it. Here, a washing machine from 8 years ago. From 5 years ago, the United States find out all the washing machine is now imported from Mexico and Korea. People do not buy washing machine made in the United States anymore. So the United States considers that both countries must be doing something fishy, something terrible, something unfair. So they try to get investigation and levied anti-dumping duties against those two countries. After the levy of the anti-dumping duties, the production line, the factory, is moved from Korea to to China. So 2 years later, United States find out even though Korean washing machine is more expensive, but nowadays a lot more washing machine is imported from China. Why is that? China must be doing something unfair. So there's another anti-dumping investigation, and then try to levy anti-dumping duties against import from China. And then last year, United States find out there are some other countries, Vietnam and Thailand. Now these two countries is very unfairly producing washing machines and then sold to United States. So there must be something wrong with that particular two countries. Therefore, this year, United States make a decision. I want to stop all import from all over the world. I want to protect the washing machine made in United States. And that is something that Korea was not happy about. So Korea bring this case to the World Trade Organization to make a complaint against United States. And this is the dispute settlement numbers, number 546. Is registered under this case. Whether or not it is fair for the entire country to do no more trade and ask the United States stop doing lousy washing machines. Or whether or not United States is entitled to insist on doing their own, making their own lousy machines and do not want all those imports. That is the first that happens this year in January. The second example is solar panel to make electricity. This is also similarly where 6 years ago, United States find all the solar panel was made in China and imported from China to the United States. Why is that? There must be something wrong with China. So they have the anti-dumping levies against China, and then 2 years later, all the imports are from Taiwan. They find out the production line is moved to Taiwan, and then Taiwan must be doing something unfair to the United States. So the case is against China too. And then 2 years later, 4 more countries making solar panels imported into United States, while United States is not making any lousy solar panel at all. So United States also this year in January make a decision. I want to stop all the import from all the world. I want to only produce made in US solar panel. And China bring this case to the World Trade Organization. Dispute settlement registered 545. This is 2 examples. The third one is more interesting here. Steel, iron, aluminum. United States think that we are producing iron and aluminum. That is not good enough. Everybody is buying from abroad. So I want to levy 25% more tariffs against the imported iron and 10% against imported aluminum. When United States is making a stop of that one, many other countries was also very afraid of, because if I produce a lot of steel, would like to sell to the United States, and they are stopping me, so I will have this surplus of steel to be sold to some other market, and the other country is worried, so they all implement, each and every one, their own design to levy more tariff against the other imported country, steels and products. So these are 5 countries that also copies the same idea, also collecting more tariffs there. While at the same time, everybody is very angry at this particular man, at this particular country. So there is 8 countries going to the World Trade Organization and bring a case against the United States. Why is a country can suddenly decide, I don't want your good, I want to close my border. So there are those countries bring dispute settlement cases against the United States, each and every one of them. So you will see in the World Trade Organization panel, the court, you will see a lot of cases against that. While the United States was sued against in the World Trade Center, the US is considering, it is not only me that is doing that. There are 5 more others is doing that too. So I, the United States, will bring a case against these 5 too. So this is the entire situation of the world trade right now, only on 2 products, iron and aluminum. Here. There is a new ongoing case here for the automobile because the United States is worried and concerned about US making car is not competitive globally. So he would also like to use something to stop the imported cars. But even the car maker in the United States is against this idea. So the idea actually looks like it's not a tariff war, trade war anymore. It is a strategy for negotiation because Trump used this topic to negotiate with Korea to reach to a new FTA with Korea. In that deal, they agree not to block the Korean car. And also, we talked with European Union that you will buy more soybeans from United States, which China is not buying. And then I would think about pardon you also will allow your car to the United States. And more recently, is using the car to negotiate free trade agreement, a new one with Canada and Mexico of the new NAFTA agreement. And that is also recently reached agreement, and also in the agreement, they say the US will not block the car from Canada and Mexico. So this is the ongoing case that is not yet revealed entirely. Okay, now let me move to this particular 2 gentlemen. This year in March, United States considers the Chinese made in China 2025. This is a typo here. It is unacceptable cases. So it brings the case to the World Trade Organization and bring the case against China. And also decided that I'm going to also levy additional tariff. US retaliation here. And the Chinese is not happy about that one. So he also bring the case against the US in the World Trade Organization. And also the US bring in the European Union, ask his good friend to also bring the case against it. So this is already the new beginning, the new chapter of a new case about made in China 2025. But that is still ongoing in the past 3 months. Here. 3 months ago, the US is setting up retaliation 34 billion. Yes, 340 and 160 is 500 billion US dollars. That is a new tariff. The Chinese also says that I'm going to retaliate the same one, 500 to 500. So you are collecting tariff, I'm collecting tariff. Each other 500 to 500 billions. But pay attention to previously when we talk about the United States is selling more, importing more from China, and Chinese is importing less from United States. So Chinese actually have imports from United States only 1,300. There's not much water left. That is why the United States is also putting more pressure here. If you retaliate, I would put 2,000 billion more against your import. While the Chinese actually 1,300 minus 500 has only 800 left. So he can only counteract with 600 billion US dollars. And then Mr. Trump says that if you are going to do that, I'm going to do more to 2,600 billion, which represents almost the entire import from Chinese. And then we will see how the other is doing, because there's not much left here for Chinese to counteract. Interesting character here to compare if we look only at bilateral trade. But it is not that simple on the bilateral trade here. This is a new real charter here. In the center, when we are talking about bilateral trade, the US is receiving more from China. China is receiving less from the United States. And this is what they are fighting here. But if Chinese and the US fighting cannot be settled within this part, then they each have their own fallback system here. Because the United States is doing trade at this big volume, while the Chinese is doing also this big volume here. And you can see, as I mentioned about 2015 and ongoing, China is doing more trade globally with the United States. So there's more room for China to do maneuvers here. But if they cannot settle the case on the global trade, then the real bully will start from their wealth, where the United States is more healthier, richer than Chinese nowadays. So this will be the real landscape in the near 1 or 2 years if all the fighting is escalating on this particular one. Okay, so that is the global pictures here. Let us look back into our conclusion. There are 4 points that I would like to share with you and maybe discuss with you later. 4 questions. The first is the trade imbalance. Consider that Chinese is selling more product to the United States and only buying a little from the United States. What can be settled bilaterally? Are we going to ask the United States to import less than before? Or are we going to ask Chinese to import 4 times, 5 times larger than last year? Which one is possible? That is not possible there. And the second one is the interdependence. If I need your product, then I will not be able to retaliate. For example, the Chinese retaliation is not covering Boeing air flight because they need that. And the third one is industrial value chain. If a Taiwanese company is making a product in China and will be levied tariff, it is now for Taiwanese factories to consider move their factory from mainland China to some other countries like Vietnam or Indonesia. And the last one is the economic impact. If everybody is doing that, what will be international trade next year? It is IMF warning that if we are fighting against each other globally, next year and the years to come, the whole world trade is declining and everybody will be making less money. And that is my presentation for today. Terima kasih.
Hey, what a great session from Mr. Jack. Would you please guys to Give a hand applause for Mr. Jack once again.
Okay, so I think Mr. Jack has given us a lot of valuable information about the trade war between China and US, and also about what can we guys as the young generation do to improve Indonesian trade. Okay.
Okay, now is the time for Q&A session. It is a great special moment for Taipei Economic and Trade Office to be here. And please use this moment to ask questions to our great speaker.
But in the session, we will have two sessions for Q&A. In this first session, we will accept questions from our friend in Binus online learning. And then the second session, we will accept questions from the audience in this auditorium.
This is about the 4.0 effect. How about easy way to face the transition from 3.0 to 4.0 for government and companies?
Thank you very much for this particular question here. For SME, small and medium-sized companies, actually, they are facing two important and very critical elements that is missing for the time being. The first one is the digitalization, because the small and medium-sized company, when they are under Industry 3.0, not many things has been computerized. Not many data or record or information is kept on file electronically. So there is a gap here already for those small and medium-sized companies. First, to catch up with 3.0 for their struggling to be more efficient in the future, because there are a lot of apps or software that will keep financial data for you. They will keep tracking of the raw material import and production progress for you. And in the big company operation, they are already making zero stocking purpose goals right now, which means they will not put a lot of the stock in their backyard in order to produce the good things. They will move in the raw materials only in time just to make for their production. So there will not be any need for the waste of the storage or the management of that one. And in fact, that will require a lot of monitoring skill electronically. That is the 3.0. And only after that, with the digitalization, you will be able to put more value add into the 4.0 for each and every your product or even your machines will be smart enough to do things that cannot be done manually or that will not need more workers anymore. So for SMEs, in fact, they are still lag behind. In fact, we need some pioneer companies to actually to create those possibilities for us. For Taiwan, actually, we are already halfway through 3.0 and venturing into 4.0 now. But for Indonesia, probably you will need to make two steps in one stone here. And for the second question, this is a very difficult question with a dark cloud outside there. Actually, we will have a very easy and simple answer because it is by the end of the night, we will see the dawn of the day. But how long will it take for us to see the dawn of the day? That remains to be seen. But at least I would say that before November, when the United States have the midterm election, the fight will be escalating because the United States, if they can make one single enemy out of China, everybody in that country will stay together, be united, and that is very good for election. And for that one, if the president succeeded in his strategy, then this escalation will continue for 2 more years until 2 years later for the election of the president. what will be changed that? It is either the China step down or the United States step down. We do not know it here yet because European Union is not happy about the United States. Japan is not happy about the United States. But also European Union and Japan is also not happy about China. So we will see a lot of interactions going on because Chinese will find their new allies in the following 2 years. And the US will also find their own allies. And this is a sitcom and soap opera that we will continue to see not only for the following months, but maybe the following a couple of years. The third one is the 3.0 for government and companies. In fact, Indonesia, like Taiwan, is already doing a lot. Taiwan is doing e-government right now. We are doing a lot of archive already keep on file, digitalized, computerized. And also Indonesia is also picking up on that trend. So after Indonesia is catching up the trend, put all the important data in their file, then how to smartly use that data will be making the so-called 4.0 era. So this is the way to move forward. We need to first put the government and companies with the digitalization data and then move on to the smart data. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to give the chance for questions from this auditorium. Anyone? So, Mr. Jack, it seems like no one have a question in their mind, but I want to ask a question like, maybe is it better for a country to be independent, like standing in their own feet, like they can create a lot of goods, they have a lot of their own industries, or is it better for a country to have a lot of FDI or foreign direct investment? So it is better to be independent or to have more foreign direct investment. Like for example, in Indonesia, we can say like maybe there are less Indonesia's privately owned industries, but there are more like maybe Hyundai's factory, Toyota's factory from another country. So which is better, to be independent or to have a lot of foreign direct investment?
Thank you for your question. That is a very easy question.
I ask it very difficult.
If I can, I want to be independent. I want to do everything myself. That is for sure. But the economics always tell us that for efficiency purpose, that we should try to cooperate. A very easy question back to you is that there are 17,000 islands in Indonesia. Whether or not it is better for each and every island to stand alone by itself, to do everything by each and every island by itself, or whether or not it is better for those 17,000 islands to work together as united as one country to work stand on their own. That would be more efficiently and possible, making more progress and benefit. Thank you.
Mr. Zhou, I want to ask, is there any connection with the trade war, with the China big hack scandal?
This is a scandal is a world of particular meaning. But let me first to try to explain each and every country, including the United States, when they are on their path to economic development, they will try their best to make progress. 100 years ago, in fact, the United States was not a very advanced country. The world center is in Europe. So in that case, in that particular era, the United States was learning a lot from Europeans. And they actually imported a lot of books and also tried to borrow scientists from Europe to the United States and making United States strong as it is today now. And that is the idea that every country, including Indonesia, for example, when you are going to create your own industry, for example, car making industry, you cannot do it by yourself. You will invite foreign companies to come to Indonesia to invest, to share the experiences, to transfer the technology in order to make progress. But the critical moment here is how much can you do? Can I try to give you $1 million, $2 million to try to buy your experience? Or maybe I will just spend $500,000 to ask a thief to go to steal the technology back to me, so I will pay only $500,000. What is a reasonable step to do to import technology and material and patents, vis-a-vis whether or not that is over the red line that I'm doing the illegal way of importing technology? There is a fine line there. But be very frankly, that line sometimes is blurred. For one country, when they are actually struggling for their independence, for example, North Korea, the nuclear technology will of course be detrimental, critical. They will use whatever method to import that one. But right now, China is the second largest world economy. What they should do to be a responsible player in the whole world to increase their own technology, that is a fine line that we will need to discuss. Some of the case, if tried by the court, may be going too far, that need to be punished. Some of the case, after tried by the court, may be a reasonable one. So there is a lot of confusion here that for this particular year and the following 1 or 2 years, we will not know yet. And there is a lot of interesting private civil cases also going on for the big companies from Japan, from Korea, from the United States to bring a lawsuit against each other, accusing them as a thief to steal or copy my patent. And that also needs the court to decide, to look into the facts, to see whether or not one action is over the line or still within the line. And that is a fine line here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jack, for your presentation. And my name is Amanda from IBM, and I would like to ask, as we all know, Taiwan is still China, but separated from China. I mean, it's an independent country. Is Taiwan also involved in the war between China and the US, and how does this war impact Taiwan in the Thank you.
That is a very good question. Whether or not Taiwan is taking benefit of these two elephants fighting, or Taiwan is suffering for this fighting, that is also in a black and white, not a black and white answer there. Because, for example, Taiwan speaks the same language as people from mainland China. So it is very easy for us to do business with them. We put our money in there to invest. We buy things, we sell things with them. That is very close bonding there too. But if the United States is fighting with China right now, the US will try to find some other source of import outside of China. So the critical moment is whether or not Taiwan right now is capable to find a new supplier for the product to be sold to the United States. And because Taiwan is very good at doing international trade, we have connections, we are mobile, we are flexible. So actually, Taiwan as a trader is with those very able companies, they are already considering moving their factories to some other places to continue production and sell to the United States. But also at the same time, because we know a lot of businessmen in China, we know that they will need to import their original product not from the United States, but from other countries. So Taiwan as a trader who knows many other suppliers from other countries, they will be able to be matched in order to move the product to China. For example, Chinese is no longer importing soybean from the United States. So he will import soybeans mostly from Brazil. So Taiwan people will try to get in the middle as the middleman, try to introduce the making. So if we are flexible, if we are adjusting, Taiwan will be making money out of that one as a direct consequences. But more importantly is the indirect consequences. If the world trade is at dispute for 1 or 2 or 3 years, the global trade volume will not be increased, but will be decreased. The decreasing trade volume, if they are making 90%, 80%, 70% reducing down, so for Taiwan to be able to make money out of international trade, our volume, our space is also reduced. So the indirect impact will be more severe in the long run. While in the short term, we are making quite good right now, trying to also make some good business out of it, because we are flexible, and also hopefully Indonesia can also be flexible in this particular junction. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jack. Now we're back to Business Online Learning. Dear Mr. Jack, my name is Jody. I have a question regarding the Taiwan's industry. As you said before, industry is the backbone of Taiwan's advanced economy. How does Taiwan fulfill their energy consumption to run their technology-intensive industries?
That is the question I did not prepare. Taiwan as a trader, we are trying to be complement to international development. If the world is crazy about mobile phone, we will try a lot to adjust ourselves to be the supplier of the parts of mobile phone. If the world is crazy about automobile, we will try our best to produce the good automobile parts and components. So we are adjusting ourselves to international trade. That is more importantly when everybody like Germany, like Japan, even Indonesia is talking about Industry 4.0. That is the niche that Taiwan will try to use our backbone, our specialty in the ICT sector, try to merge that into a smart machine designs. Because we are quite good at software programming, we are quite good at the industrial development. So that is a niche that we are paying our special attention to. Whether or not we are able to be success or not, that remains to be seen. But because we are very flexible, so we are quite confident for the time being, and hopefully we will be able to make progress in the near future. Thank you.
My name is Ray. I'm from IBM. I would like to ask, how do small countries like Indonesia or Taiwan react to the trade war? How should they make themselves not get too negatively impacted? Thank you.
There are opportunities when there is a fight or disagreement, because there will involve the reallocation of resources. And that, when there is a conflict or in disagreement, that also opens up an opportunity. For Taiwan, actually, like Indonesia, when United States and China is fighting against each other, there is a basic economic change there. The United States dollars will be increasing, while the Chinese yen will be decreasing in value. Because right now everybody is thinking that the United States is a bigger one, so the two fighting with each other, we will be betting initially on the big one too. But consequently, out of that one, if the United States dollar is increasing in value, that means all the other currency will be decreasing in value. For example, Indonesian rupiah is decreasing 10% already. For Taiwan new Taiwan dollar is also decreasing 7% already. So when our currency is decreasing in value, which means if we would like to buy more things, buy the same things, we will need to pay more. But on the other hand, if our currency is decreasing in value, which means we will be able to sell our product globally at a lower price. So when Taiwan and Indonesia, when our money is decreased in value, that is a chance for us to do more international trade, to sell more to the world, and to buy less from the world. That is what Taiwan is doing this year. But that is not Indonesia is doing this year. Because Indonesia actually has 10 billion US dollar trade surplus last year. But this year, in the past 8 months, Indonesia is actually increasing more and selling less. Because the Indonesian rupiah is decreasing, so actually you are paying much more in order to buy the US dollar pricing product. And that is something that we will need to pay special attention to. So for that one, because I would say that Indonesia is less competitive, less adjustable, less flexible than Taiwan industry or Taiwan company. So when we are able to maneuver in this short-term period, that is also imposing a lot of challenge for big companies as well as small and medium-sized companies in Indonesia to maneuver yourselves to find the best solution. For example, the textile from China can no longer go to the United States. They will pay more price, which means Indonesian textile can sell more to the United States. Only if Indonesia can produce good quality textile product that is going to be appreciated by the United States consumers. And that is something that you will try to, even if not this year, but in the near future, try to upgrade your industry capability to produce better quality and more competitive price like Taiwan do in the past 2 decades. That is a way to make and maneuver in this troubled water this year and the years to come. Thank you.
So this one is the last session from Binus from DC Handayani. What is the impact to both countries, Taiwan and Indonesia, if China make decision to import less to the US and start import to the other countries, especially Indonesia has a big potential market? Thank you.
It is already happening here, because there are a lot of production from Chinese market, and those production in the past, a large portion of that is sold to the United States. From the second half of this year or continue to next year, because the price will be going up, so the demand will be slower down, which means the production, if they keep on the same production level, there will be a lot of things that cannot be sold to the United States. That will be kept in the stock in their backyard of the Chinese factories. For them, for those products to be wasted in the backyard is not a wise position. So it is only reasonable for those stocks to reduce the price and to be sold to some other countries. And ASEAN is nearby. So ASEAN will be also facing the challenge in the near future. Maybe later this year, maybe next year, you will find some product that is less expensive than before from Chinese. That will be imposing a genuine threat to the industry here who is producing the same product. So I think your Ministry of Trade is already indicating that particular concern, and also ask the audience, the industry, to try to pay attention to if there are flood of very big import surge from China of the product with a lower price. Pay special attention to that one, and you can always approach Ministry of Trade to ask for anti-dumping investigation try to stop if that is the case happening. But on the other hand, that is also a good opportunity. I don't know the situation here in Indonesia, but for a very smart Indonesian manufacturer, it is a good idea right now. If they, in the past, sell their product to the domestic market, do not do that anymore. Try to make the same production and sell your product to the United States. And they import a cheap one from China and supply that with a cheaper price to your customers. That will be a win-win situation for a flexible, smart Indonesian businessman. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all for the Q&A session. Thank you very much for Mr. Jack for your awesome answers. And now we would like to invite Ms. Rasmat Yolandari to the stage to give a gratitude speech for Mr. Jack.
Thank you for TETO, Taipei Economic and Trade Office in Indonesia, especially for Mr. Jack and Mr. Samuel, who already give much effort and time to give you international lectures today. Please give them applause. I should introduce you at the beginning of the lectures. So do you know who he is? I know Mr. Jack. Okay, Mr. Jack, the present position now is Director of Economic Divisions, Taipei Economic and Trade Office in Indonesia. And he studied in School of Law, National Taiwan University, and Graduate School of Political Science, also in National Taiwan University, and Law and Legal Master, School of Law, University of Pennsylvania. So, pursue him, ask him, how can he be like this? And then if you want to go to Taiwan to have student exchange, you can explore and get information more at the office. Hope you can have a meaningful lectures today, put it in your mind that it will be a good experience for you. And then both of you gentlemen, I want to say all of my gratitude to you. Thank you so much, and thank you so much. And I don't know what to say. It's been a while that we met, and now you can come to our campus. Thank you. Perhaps next year you can come again to share your knowledge to us. Don't be bored to us. Okay, one slide, yeah? Okay.
Thank you. A short commercial here. Each and every year, my office will offer, well actually my government will offer about 20 scholarships for Indonesian students to go to study doctorate or master degrees in Taiwan. And the deadline will be end of March. So prepare, if you are going to be graduated this year, prepare your application starting from next year in January, February, and then submit the scholarship application to my office. We will have a selection, and for the best 20 students, we'll be able to offer scholarship for them to study in Taiwan. So welcome everybody. Thank you.
Would you please give a round of applause to Mr. Jack?